Hi, ladies. My name is Kathy Bates, and I am the owner and founder of Your Inspired Books, coaching and publishing services. I work with Christian nonfiction authors, teaching them how to write their books, publish them, and market them. I also offer do it for you publishing services. And I just want to take a moment right now and thank Sam for inviting me to be one of her guests on this summit. The topic of self love is something that I have struggled with most of my life, since I was probably about 10 years old. And so today I'd like to just really talk openly and honestly with you about my struggles and what I have done to overcome them. And hopefully that will help you out as well. So, as I said, when I was about 10 years old, that's probably when this really all started, because I ended up having a medical condition. And because of that, I withdrew and I really started to become shy. And I thought of myself as being a freak of nature. I cannot tell you how many times I labeled myself as that. And the thing of it is nobody ever teased me. My little brother did a little bit, but he was like 6 years old. So, um, but really, honestly, nobody was mean to me. Nobody said anything to me. Well, if they thought it, they never said it to me. So all this negative self-talk um, came from me, came from the enemy whispering in my ear, say, "See, you're just like you're a freak," and it's not true. Nobody's a freak, and but I didn't know that, so I suffered with that. And then as I grew, that just kind of grew with it into the teen years. That's awkward years for anybody anyways. And, thinking I'm not pretty, not smart, all this kind of stuff. I was so insecure. And then super, super shy about talking to boys at all. And so that was a difficult stage of my life. Then I went through some very traumatic times in my life, one when I was about 19, and one about 30, and one about 40. And those were so traumatic that, of course, they compounded the shyness and the fear that I lived with. And shyness is nothing more than fear, anyways. And the negative self talk it just ramped up. I really didn't feel like I had any purpose on this earth. I did not feel like I was lovable, because, after all, I thought, how could anybody do such heinous things to me if I were lovable? And so I had basically no self-esteem and low self-worth, just like no purpose at all. And at one point, I didn't want to live. I didn't do anything about it, but I just felt that low. And so fast forward, after that traumatic event in my 40s, God had to take me on a healing journey. And just to pause there for a moment, I just want to say that my healing journey was rooted in my faith. And if you are not in that same place that I am, that's okay. What I ask is that you just try to pull some principles out of what I'm saying today, and hopefully that will still help you. So, the journey that God took me on was one that He really needed to help me to understand that I am loved, I am lovable. See, God is love. It's impossible for Him not to love. And so He had to teach me that He loves me, and that I was very important to Him, that I am lovable, and that I have much love to give to others. In that process of learning who I am to God, I mean, my true identity in Him, He taught me about, He took me through a bunch of scriptures and just showed me how special I was to Him. That He calls me His daughter, I am His beloved, I was chosen before the foundation of the earth, I am adopted into His family. And the scripture says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in your mother's womb. That means you are handcrafted by God. Every detail about you is special. And God intended to create you very unique and special to Him. And that really touched me, that I had this uniqueness and specialness. You see, ladies, you have gifts and talents within you that you probably don't even know about, that God wants to show you. He created everyone unique with special gifts and talents, and I myself never really knew what that was. I struggled through life, which just added to the negative self-talk, which was I never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. My friends all knew what they wanted to do, and for the most part, everybody does. I did go to college, but I just kind of picked something because I just really didn't know. And that always bothered me again, like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I figure out what I want to do with my life? I was talented in a lot of different areas. I was what you'd call a jack of all trades, so to speak. I could do a lot of different things, just not necessarily an expert in one thing. And I always thought that as a negative. Really wasn't until just a few years ago that God showed me it's a gift to be a jack of all trades. And I think about that, and it's like how many different things I've been able to do in life that really made life easier for me because I'm able to pick things up pretty easily and do them. Again, I may not be an expert in them, but I'm able to do them where a lot of people are not. My mom taught me how to sew clothes when I was 10 years old, or probably even younger than that. And I don't do much sewing today anymore, but I can if I want to. Power tools. I use power tools. Used to use them a lot. When I got married, my husband was shocked at how many power tools I had because I needed them for the business that I was running at the time. And things like that. So there are many things within you that you can do, and they're all gifts to you. If you're a jack of all trades like me, think of it as a gift because there's a lot of people that can't do the things that you do. And so God took me through this journey of healing to learn my identity in Him, because our identity is not in the things that we say about ourselves or what anybody else says about us. As humans, our emotions are very fickle. We can one day like ourselves and the next day hate ourselves. And that's not our identity. And even if you've done something that you think is horrible, just a really horrible thing, maybe you've hurt a lot of people, that's not who you are. That's what you did. And you may say, I'm a failure, man. I completely failed. I have hurt so many people. Again, that's not who you are. It's what you did. And all you need to do is repent of that. Ask God to forgive you of what you've done. And the great thing about that is once God forgives you, it's gone. Like, that sin is gone. You don't have to hold on to it ever again. It's gone. So you can let it go and realize that what you do in life doesn't define who you are, and who even we say we are is not who God says we are. Thankfully, God is so much more gracious. He looks at us with such different eyes. We're so beautiful to Him. I was just reading Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, as there's called different things, this morning actually, and it's a difficult book of the Bible to read because it's poetic. But it's a love letter, really, of God to us and how He looks at us. And He looks at us as being beautiful and lovely, and just He has so much joy over us. And I would encourage you to read that. Read it in, I'm reading it in the translation called the Passion Translation. And study that, because it really, the more you read it, the more you see God's heart towards us. So anyways, I want to just go on to say that you are special to God. And the negative self-talk is a lie of the enemy. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He will whisper in your ear. He will try to get you to believe these things, because if you believe these things about yourself, then that means you won't believe what God says about yourself, and you won't walk in the calling that God has on your life, and ever learn about those special gifts and talents that you have. Back in 2018, God asked me to write a book about everything that I went through, and to talk about my healing journey, and the main topic of that is forgiveness. forgiveness was key to my healing. And I want to encourage you right now, as if you are suffering from a lot of this negative self-talk because of something somebody did to you, I encourage you to forgive them. And if you are struggling with something that you did, I encourage you to forgive yourself. If you don't know how to forgive, if you're struggling with that, pick up a copy of my book. It's called Broken Spirit to Boundless Joy. There are so many misconceptions about forgiveness, and it's one thing that God really wanted me to talk about, to help people to get to a point where they can forgive. And you'll never get that breakthrough that you're looking for if you are holding on to unforgiveness. So check that out. But what happened with the whole thing about my book is all that trauma that I went through, my family didn't know about most of it. They knew some details, but most of it they did not. And so before I published my book, I had to go to my family and tell them what happened. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, probably the hardest. And, facing them and telling them, here, I'm writing a book and here's what it's about. But when I did that, what the Lord did for me was a miracle. The shyness, that heaviness on me, it broke off. And I started getting some boldness. I mean, what I'm doing right now, being in front of you talking, I would never have dreamed of doing. And being on camera on anything, never, no way. And he broke that off of me. Now, I still have to consciously really work at not letting that come back, because after living in shyness for 40, 50 years, it's become a way of life. And even though God has healed me and broken that off of me, now I got to deal with that habitual lifestyle, so to speak. Anytime you try to break a habit, it's difficult, right? This is the same thing. And so I have to not allow myself to fall back into that pattern of life. But having that break free I just have so much freedom now, being healed of that shyness. And so, exposing what the enemy did to me, to my family, and to the entire world by my book, it broke that hold that the enemy had on me. And that's, sometimes you need to tell your story. And if you've not told anybody what's happened to you, find someone that you can trust and confide in them. You might be surprised how understanding they might be. And then if you need to take it further and tell family members or friends or something, do that. When we expose the darkness, it's got no more hold over us. And so if that's something you need to do, then I encourage you to do it. And maybe you have a book in you. I love working with my clients to see what book they're going to write next. And some of them are business books. They're not all books like what I wrote. They're nonfiction books which cover a wide variety of topics. But the process in their writing, it's transformative for them. And so, God can do that for you. And so I just really want to encourage you today to not listen to the enemy. When he tries to tell you those things, just say, nope, not today, not today. It's not true. That is not who I am. And start speaking life over yourself. Start speaking positive things over yourself, because that's how God sees you. And you are worth so much more than you can possibly imagine in his eyes. And you are a beautiful, talented woman. And I just want to add this too. Sam has my contact information. So for those of you who, if you're interested in writing a nonfiction book, feel free to reach out to me. But I want to throw this out to you. For those of you who struggle with shyness, like I did, and you really would like to be free of that, feel free to reach out to me. I've been wanting to, for a few years now, start a group to help women break off of shyness. It's just something that God hasn't quite let me release yet, but maybe now is the time. And so if that's you, if you resonate with that, Go ahead and use the same email address that Sam has for me, and you can put in the subject line shyness, and write a little note about it, and I'll reach out to you, and we'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll jumpstart this group. It's called Shyness Undone. I already have the name for it, and maybe we'll do a soft launch and work together, and just start rolling this out. But my heart is to get people, women, broken free from shyness, because I know what it's like. That I missed out on so much life because of it. And I don't want you to miss out on life because shyness, or just, this no self-love, the low self-esteem, low self-worth, and, even low self-respect. If those things are holding you back from pursuing the things that you want to do in life, now's the time to just break it off, to get that breakthrough that you need. Also, I just wanted to mention this too, is whatever areas of the self-love aspects that you might be struggling with, is, I know Sam talks about to pick one and start with that, and work with that. And that is wisdom, ladies. That is such wisdom. Because if you try to do everything all at once, you're going to get frustrated, and then you're going to quit, and then you're going to think that you're a failure. And you're going to say, I'm a failure. See, I failed. And that's just simply not true. You are not a failure. In that case, it just means you tried to take on too much all at once. And so back off. Just back off and try to work on one thing at a time. And I would actually recommend taking the one that seems to be the easiest, that you think you can overcome the easiest, and work on that one. And I say that because if you can get breakthrough in that one, it's going to motivate you to keep on going. If you pick the hardest thing to start with, you might get discouraged. Now, maybe you want a challenge. Pick that hardest one and start with the hardest one. Then everything else is going to seem a whole lot easier. So there's that philosophy too. But otherwise, pick the one that's the easiest. You're going to say, oh, I did this, yay. And it's going to motivate you to want to do the next thing. And keep on going that way. Ladies, I'm just, I'm here rooting you on. I know that you can do this. If I can do it, and Sam has said if she can do this, you can do it. And just start small, but don't listen to the enemy whispering in your ear anymore. Don't listen to that negative talk. Stop it. Be self-aware of it, and stop it when you start doing it. And it's a process. It will take time, especially if you've been, fighting with this for a long time. It's a process. So be patient, and give yourself that time. And you will conquer this. You will overcome this and go on to do many great things. I'm just sure of it. So have a great day, ladies. I hope that helped you out. Thanks.